Hello. I decided to create a video just to discuss about, my son. Just talk about his condition because I know obviously on my account it says send parents, but it doesn't actually discuss much on it unless you go through the videos. You'll see. So I'm going to discuss my son's many conditions that he actually has, and a couple of the impacts and stuff on it. So first things, obviously, he has autism. He wasn't originally diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed with global developmental delay with autistic traits. But then when he got a bit older, there's like the autistic traits become more prevalent. He could see it more, and they're like, yeah, okay. So then he was actually diagnosed with autism. That's why I've got my tattoos. See, as you see, autism tattoos. Um, so yes, he had autism. He's got severe learning difficulties. So even though he's 11, he's got the mental capacity of, like I say, a 2 or 3 year old. Which comes with its own challenges, really. Um, Now, a couple of years ago, he was seen by a metabolic specialist, and they diagnosed something called homocystinuria. Now, homocystinuria is obviously like a genetic disorder that's passed on to the parents. Both parents have to be carriers, and they pass on to the child, and then he could either become a carrier or their child could pass it on themselves if they meet somebody else who carries this. Um, Now, what that is your body, it doesn't absorb certain amino acids from protein, and most foods that people eat are it is protein because you need protein to live, to survive, to grow. Um, Now, so it's a very protein limited diet he's on now. He's allowed to have like 15 grams of protein a day, which is not really that much at all. I mean, anyone who's essentially goes to gym or something, and you have like a protein shake, that's like 20 grams of protein. That's more than he's allowed to have all day. So yeah. But the thing with homocystinuria is the complications, the things that could possibly happen. Now, one of the things you have is long, thin bones. So he is quite tall and he is quite skinny. He's still the most beautiful thing I've ever met in my life. Like, but that's because he's my child. Now, one of the dangers is your lenses in your eyes can become dislocated. So then you'd have to obviously surgery or really thick glasses or stuff like that. So once a year, he has to get put to sleep to be able to have his eyes checked with like lasers or something, because he can't go to an optician and anything like that, because he will not sit in the chair. He doesn't have good mental capacity, and he just have a meltdown and he wouldn't be able to do it. So he goes to sleep to have them checked. And another thing that they have is possibility to have like a blood clots or strokes. Now, obviously, that's really, really dangerous, so you have to keep an eye on that. Like when you go on flights, planes, and stuff like that, he has to wear like the flight socks, or even when he gets put asleep before his eye checks, the nurse is coming, he's constantly massaging his legs and his arms and stuff just to make sure that there's no blood clots or anything like that there for him. Um, and at the same time, he was diagnosed with the homocystinuria. There was another condition that was suspected of him, but because he had a confirmation of homocystinuria, it was deemed that the hospital wasn't going to follow through with the checks for this new condition because they didn't think that he'd have it, because it's extremely unlikely to have both. Fast forward a couple of years, and the indications that were what the hospital thought about why he might have this other condition, like these little patches, like basically birthmarks on your neck and stuff like that. We had a few of them all around him, like giant freckles, basically. And they're called cafe au lait spots. That's what they're called. So like a little a patch on your skin, like quite a large one. But he's got a few of them, and he had these little lumps under his skin, like one in his neck, one in his stomach, one in his leg. So they decided to look at it again and check his DNA. And it turns out the condition that they thought that he may have had but never followed through, he actually did have it. And it's actually called neurofibromatosis, or NF1 is what he's got. Now, what that is again the little lumps under the skin, as I've just said. Now they're like basically like tumors. Now they're number 9, but there is a possibility, a chance that they could become cancerous, and also they can grow like all over you. I mean, you can get them all over your face, your body, and stuff like that. They don't seem to bother them at the moment, but they are there, and you're like, they do stick out, and you do notice them. So we have to get checked and stuff. So we'll have to have like MRIs every so often. You have to go and make sure they're not, because these things can grow in your organs, which can cause a lot of complications. Anyone with NF1 will not understand, obviously, what the complications are possible. So yeah, that's what my son has. So it's a bit of a long list, isn't it? Autism spectrum disorder, severe learning difficulties, homocystinuria, neurofibromatosis. He also has lower limb spasticity as well. That's another thing that comes with it. So it's just he spends a lot of time sort of when he's out in his wheelchair because he's hypermobile. He stands up on his tiptoes like a ballerina does, And he had surgery to try and improve that, but the surgery, although it was successful and it released certain like muscle tissue and stuff like that and tendons in his ankles and his feet, so he'd be able to go flat-footed. He went straight onto his feet again, so it causes a few issues. He can't stand still, so he's always jumping about and all this stuff. So as I say, unless he's holding on to us and we're out somewhere holding him, walking with him, he goes in his wheelchair. So yeah, so that's what makes us these special needs parents. And this is why we do these videos, just to let people know that there is more people in the world that have these conditions. There could be a parent who's got a child who's a lot younger than than my son, or only just now being diagnosed with this condition, and they're looking for some sort of advice or someone to talk to that isn't a doctor. Because although the doctors do help and do obviously brilliant at the job, these doctors don't understand the emotional side of it. Like, they understand, like, the actual, the medical side and what's right and what's wrong and the dietary requirements and all that. But, they don't understand what it could be like to be a parent who's living with a child. So, that's why we do these videos. And, if anyone wants to, like, send us a message and say, oh, I'm experiencing similar things, or, how did you deal with this? How did you go through this? I'll be happy to message you back and let you know. And my wife will be the same. If if I'm not here, not available, there'll always be someone that will be able to message back. So yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good day.